Lab 5, Module 5, CAD 136, Advanced AutoCAD for Interior Design. Today, we're going to look at creating this furniture grouping using solid modeling techniques. So we're going to go to our textbook, which is got the assignment located in Module 5. And here we are. And it's in the AutoCAD for Interior Design and Space Planning textbook. I'm just going to take a shortcut to show you the page information. And so it's an exercise for the reception seating area. And they have it as isometric, but we're going to model it using solid modeling techniques. If you need to take some measurements, you can use your architectural scale, reading it off at 3/8 equals a foot, but they have most of the information here for us. And so we have this chair and then a couple of end tables. Here's our elevations for the heights of those things. And then we'll just go ahead and start working on that. All right, so let's take a look at the chair. The chair is 34 inches by 30 inches. And then the height of the cushion is 9 inches to the bottom and then 17 inches to the top and then 27 inches to the back of the chair. Here's our coffee table height and our corner table height. And so this table is shorter than this table here. All right, let's get started. So we're going to start by downloading an architectural title block from D2L. That way we don't have to create all the layers and things. And so we can go into the templates and we can get a B-size architectural title block, download it, open it in AutoCAD. I've got the 3D workspace enabled. I'm going to switch back to a drafting and annotation. I'm going to change the layer to furniture. I'm going to check my settings down here for grid and regular snap, and for OSnap. We'll enable that as well. Remember, we can go into our settings. And so all we have to do is click on this down arrow and go to our snap settings, and it'll take us to the drafting settings for snap. And if we look at the dimensions on the print, the dimensions are in inches and they're within 2-inch increments. So as we go through and we set this up, just so that we get nice even numbers, we'll make this 1 inch. You don't have to put the inch mark. It'll put that in by default for inches. For feet, you do. And then we'll leave the grid spacing at a foot. I like to have small snap increments and large grids. We'll enable polar tracking. And I like to set this at 15 degrees. It's like a drafting machine if you ever worked with a pencil. Object snap. We'll enable object snap and object snap tracking. Eventually, we'll use some of the O snaps in 3D. So I'll just leave those on. We can always toggle them off. So with that, I'm going to just say, okay, it'll update those settings. You won't see any big changes on it. Remember, the grid is set up per the area of the limits. And so if we were to change the drawing limits, then the grid size would change. If you want to know kind of how big it is, what you can do is kind of hover over one of the corners, and it's 60 feet by 60 feet, according to the numbers here down in the X and Y settings. I'm going to enable line weight, and then we're going to start drawing the furniture. Okay, so we'll start off with a chair And that chair is going to be 30 inches, 34 inches. We can make that a little bigger. So it's going to be 34 inches by 30 inches. I'm going to put this on my second monitor, and then we can just come to a point anywhere really. As long as the grid and snap are on, we should get some nice numbers. I like to draw with lines rather than rectangles. And so as we come in here, I'll just wait till I can get to one of those corners, and then I'll make that. Go this way first. We'll make that 30 inches. And so we can just track it. You can kind of see the tracking lines. If I turn off the grid, you'll see them better. See that right there? That's because we have our polar enabled. And so it'll give us a green line and it'll make that horizontal. And we'll say 30. And then we'll track it north and we'll say 34. Track it back this way. You can swipe and then you don't have to do the measurement. 30, and then we'll bring that back and hit escape. And so that's what the shape is going to look like. And then it kind of depends on how we're going to model the furniture. We may soften it up a little bit with some other things for it. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just take a snapshot of it using snip so I don't have to keep moving everything. And so we'll take that component of it there. And actually, I kind of need a bigger snapshot so I can get the bottom of the chair too. So let's do that again. We'll snap it just so that we can keep our numbers straight without changing everything on the screen. Great. And then we'll take this, if I can get my mouse back. Alrighty, so we have this 30 by 34 inch chair. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these heights for it. And depending on how we'll model that, we could just model some of this other information here before we. So we're going to go ahead and add some more information to it. We're going to offset the sides. Six inches. And so we can say offset 6, enter. Again. Six inches to this side. And then we have the right mouse click, repeat the offset, an 8-inch offset for the back of the chair. So we're going to change that to 8. And we'll select that line and that side. We'll do some trimming here. And that gives us the information. Let's put some dimensions on it just so that we can see it. And so I'm just going to use this green layer. I can read, oh, here we go, dimension. And we're going to make that layer current. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put those dimensions on so that we can verify before we model it. So that's reading in feet and inches. And so when we look at the drawing from the book, it's in just straight inches. If we wanted to update that, what we would do is go to the annotation tab and be able to set up the dimension style. So we go to annotate. Here's our dimension style shortcut arrow. And we can go to modify. And then we can go to primary units. And instead of using an architectural format, we'll just take an inch format. And I think if we go, they're not really in fractions, are they? They're all even numbers for the most part. So let's take a look at, we can leave it, let's try fraction, 1/16 of an inch and see what that does. Perfect. So we have it set at 34 inches. It doesn't have the little inch mark on it. If we wanted to have the little inch mark on it, we can modify it. And then in our primary units, we put a suffix with just this little inch symbol on it. And we can okay that. That should work for us. Awesome. We can then add a couple more dimensions to it for some of these other elements. The text is a little bit large. If we want to make the text a little smaller, I'm just going to take the shortcut by typing in DDIM, which is the same thing. I like to type in the commands because when AutoCAD changes, the text commands stay the same. And what we would do is just dial down this number here from, let's say 24, let's try 36. I like to make them in increments of 12. Wrong way. Let's go do that again, modify. And so that was 24. Let's try 12. Okay, that, close that. Great. Add a couple more dimensions to it. So I like to just use the regular linear dimensions with O snaps. Right, and we might as well model the two-dimensional areas first. And so let's go ahead and create the other geometry for the chair. And sometimes rather than moving through all of these dimensions and things like that, I'll put on a toolbar. And so what I'll do is I'll show the menu bar, tools, toolbars, AutoCAD, layers, and then you can see it, put it right here, so I don't have to go looking for it. Tools, toolbars, AutoCAD, properties. I like to use these two shortcuts on here. And so we're going to go and switch over to the furniture layer. We'll draw a line. We'll draw the elevation view of it. And so we'll just go over here, grab it, track down. Chair height is 27. So we'll type in 27 with our direct distance, meaning that we have that green polar line. We'll track to the right. And that's going to be the same width as this. And you can track rather than measure it again. And it'll give you that information when you get that tracking line. And so that's 30 inches, 2 feet 6. Again, if you want, rather than typing in the numbers, you can have the computer do the work for you. That's 30 inches. And then back to the starting point. And then we'll just offset, or we'll bring these lines down here. If it doesn't grab it, you can just grab it from the top view like I am right here and just trim it. And so that's going to be for the back of the chair. And then actually what I wanted to do was to offset it because it's kind of turned, so that's not correct. And so we're going to offset that to the side. It's going to be, and it really should be over here. So if we're going to project this, it really should be located even with this geometry over here. And so it looks to me like I've got it incorrect. So let's try that one more time. We'll bring this line over from here. Bring that line over from here. And then we'll take that. $27. Model our chair items. Armchair, armrest. Sometimes I don't always get the tracking right, so I'll just trim it. And then the cushions are offset 9 inches. Trim. $17 inches. Trim. We'll add our dimensions for that. So this will be the height of it. Should be 27. Great. And then we want to have the heights to the chairs, cushions. Alrighty, so all the numbers look great. And then as we start to work with creating the model for that, I'm going to erase that one. So that's our basic 2D elements. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this recording and make another recording for how to make the model in 3D.